Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Sunday, August 24th, and that means the Sunday sermon, right? Today we're going to talk about being blessed to have the family and friends that stick with us. So stay tuned. This should be interesting. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, if you didn't already know it. And yes, this is the weekend. This is Sunday sermon time. So let me first start off by telling you a fishing story, which was yesterday. Of course, it was just the Lord and I. Nobody else there. And it was the most phenomenal day I've had catching fish. It started with a beautiful, it was dead calm in the water. And watching the sun come up at a distance and cascade off the water. I did take a picture if anybody's interested because it was that breathtaking. Let me know that you're not alone. So when we normally go, yeah, we catch a few fish here and there, but I like to target the walleyes. I love walleye fishing. So yesterday I decided, let's go with a jig and a crawler, a night crawler, and see what we can do. So the first line I threw out, didn't I hook a nice walleye? Got it to the boat, I catch and release, that's all I'm doing. When I was younger, I used to eat a lot of fish, but now I just catch and release so that somebody else can have as much fun as I did. But it was back to back to back walleye, catching walleyes. And I get a drift pattern with jigs, and I would set up so that the wind was blowing just right to push me across where it went from shallow to deep and then back up, and they were positioned right there on the edge. And the minute I hit that edge, the pole would light up. It would start bouncing and set the hook, bring in the next one. And a lot of them weren't monsters. Actually, most of them were not keepers. So it tells me it's got a good fry population in the area. Most of them were like 8, 9 inches long when I think it's 15 as keepers. But it's the fact that I caught 11 of them that is so breathtaking. And I also caught, was a sunfish and a rock bass. But the best was I threw a crawler on just a flutter lure and flipped it out just to have it drift with me, but I knew it wouldn't go to the bottom. It'd be kind of somewhere in the middle. And that pole bent right over. I grabbed the pole. I got a walleye on the one pole that I've got in the boat, and the other pole bends right over. I set the hook, and you would have thought that I had a whale on that pole. My boat is a 16-foot rowboat type thing, and I run a 9.8 Nissan engine on it. But when I hooked into this fish, it was pulling the boat wherever it wanted to, and my drag was screaming on my fishing rod and reel. I had an open face on it, and I get the fish like I was maneuvering it back, and it would take another run and start screaming more line off. I thought that I was on wicked tuna in a rowboat trying to pull this bugger in. And I didn't know what I had. All I knew was I had hooked into a monster. And the place that I fish is well known for walleye, northern, sturgeon, catfish, carp. So I knew that it was big, but I didn't know what it was. So finally, after about 8 minutes, I got it close enough to the boat to realize that it was one of the biggest catfish that I've ever caught. And of course, again, I'm telling God, why is it that nobody is here to document me catching, this whale of a fish? So I figure it must be that was just so that it would be kept between him and I. Even my son had doubts when I was telling him the story of how many I was catching. I was keeping him updated on my phone as I was catching. because my son and my grandson normally fish with me, but they went up into Canada to the water park up there for the day. So I was by myself. Nobody to record the action, nobody to back up my fish story. What a fish story, huh? And the worst thing is, it's all true, but undocumented. Isn't that the story of my life, right? All right, so to the Sunday sermon, now that we've had so much fun with the fish story. The Sunday sermon I want to push today is, it took me a life-threatening, altering, whatever you want to call it, incident of where I had open heart surgery to really realize what's important in life, and that's your family and your friends. It really is. You know, stuff that I thought was really important a year ago seems pretty petty right now. Because as yesterday morning I found out, I woke up and my feet had started to swell again. So I knew that I was retaining water. So back to taking a Lasix, right? Because even though I'm going on 9 months out, I'm still classified as in congestive heart failure. My heart function still isn't up where they want it. It's still in the upper 30s, low 40s. I don't even know anymore. When I first came out of the hospital, one of the things that I was hypervigilant about my health. And every little thing spooked me. And I finally realized this is not life. God gave me a second chance at life, not to sit here and focus on everything that could take me away again. It's to get a second chance to do the things that I wanted to do that I didn't take the time to do before. And that is reconnecting with my family and friends that are the most important thing. You guys are the most important thing in my life. You can't take money, you can't take material things, you can't take everything else when you go. Right? But you get to keep the memories. And the memories live on through the people that you come in contact with. Does that make any sense? I was always focused on, trying to think of the right word, goal-oriented. I see a goal, I get it. Do another goal, I get it. And it was all based on financial, gain wealth, assets, always down that road. Because I thought if I could just make it. And what I find out now, looking at it, is I would never have made it because I kept setting my bar higher and higher and higher. If only, if only, if only. And what I did do, not purposely, was my family and friends were neglected. I wasn't there physically, emotionally, mentally, anything for anybody else because I was so focused on myself. The only one that did get my focus was my wife because of her mental health issues. But other than that, I missed a lot because I was working, because Dad was working or Grandpa was working. I never had time. For 2 years, all I talked about during the winter months was going fishing in the spring, only not to fish at all for 2 years. I fished more this year than I have in the past 5 years. Yeah. Because my mindset has changed. I don't need all this crap that I have, so I'm downsizing in the process. But the one thing that I have done, because I also feel that God gave me a second chance at getting my affairs in order. And I'm trying to take care of the last thing prior to the surgery would be to think about putting my wife in a nursing home because it would be deemed a failure in my eyes that I can't care for her. But that's exactly what's going on right now. That's why I'm under a lot of stress of you finally have to let go. You can control the things you can control. And most of the stress that I find in my life is self-inflicted. It's stress that I have no control over and I cannot play any part in. So I finally had to just stop and say, look, process of elimination. What are you stressing about this minute? Is it something you can do about it? If not, table it and move on. So the hard thing was my wife, of trying to figure out what's best for her instead of what's best for me. And what's best for her is to have 24-hour care that I cannot provide. I have to admit that to myself and God. I can't do it. I can't do it like I did before. And it's a hard pill to swallow. But that's one of the things that I've had to just, let it go the way it goes, and wherever it turns up, I'm okay with it. And that took a lot of weight off my shoulders. A lot of people have put time and effort into getting the care that she needs, and hopefully things will turn out good. But it's reconnecting with your family and friends, the people that are really, this should be the most important thing in your lives. If you and your child, an adult child, have had words and you haven't spoken in a while, why? I can see a lot of this petty stuff with kids, but with adults, if you're in a situation where you know that every time the two of you get together, nothing good will come of it, I can understand that to a certain extent. And I understand it to a certain extent because each one of us are protecting each other, right? We're trying to keep at arm's length so that we don't have a conflict. But if we both sat down and looked at it through the other person's eyes, a resolution would come. You may have family members that you just can't be around because it drives you crazy. But if you can identify what drives you crazy and see if you can minimize that to a certain extent, then do it. I started off by saying that I'm blessed to have the people willing to allow me into their lives. And there have been so much of an outpouring, not because of my health scare. It's because it's a new me, a new normal. And that is, I've opened myself up to where I could get rejection. I could get love. I could get all these different feelings. Before, I kept everything close to the vest. I didn't want anybody to chink my armor for fear that I would get hurt. So I was always standoffish. I always stood at a distance so that I would never get hurt. That's the big thing that's changed. It's kind of like a breath of fresh air to the people around me, that they hear honesty. They hear raw words of what I feel. I don't keep it inside anymore. If I care about someone, they damn well better know that I care about them. And they do. Because I let them know. And I let them know how blessed I am to have them in my life. Not me and theirs, but them in my life. How important they are to me. Why couldn't I done that for the last 20 years? Let the people around me know. Because many have gone to the other side that I no longer can tell. But I can, because I believe when you pass, you're still around, but you're in a second area. It's like the monarch butterfly in a cocoon. When you come out, you're a new phase, right? And I have seen in my own life of where I will ask family members for guidance and things happen. And same holds true for God. When things start to become overwhelming for me, I turn everything that is overwhelming over to Him. I tell people, my relationship with God is mine, and your relationship with God is yours. I'm not here to convert you to anything. You get to decide the place and the time if you decide you want a relationship with him. You and you only. That's my feeling. And I'm not here to try to convert other people. I can tell you that he's real, but you can't see him. But you'll see things happening around you. Like right now, I was talking about my wife with a nursing home. There's at least 7 people that stepped in and are involved and making things work. I've told you before, I've tried to stay honest to you. And sometimes, it opens yourself up to a negative slashback. But I give up that side of where I can't do my medications, of where I've had to have people step in and do it for me. And for the last 4 or 5 months, my daughter-in-law, Kirsten, has been stellar with my grandson. They come in once a month and they do the whole month's worth of meds for me. It sounds stupid, yes. And I tell people I'm not stupid. There's certain things that I can't do cognitively anymore. Put me in front of a keyboard or a mic with you, and I've learned to, I don't know what it is when I'm talking with you guys, but I don't lose my train of thought as often. I can keep it. And I feel like there's no judgment there. But the other thing that's, I've come to realize is like filling out forms, especially if they're multiple choice and stuff. I had to have help at the hospital filling out Medicaid forms for my daughter, for my wife to be able to at least be looked at for a nursing home because we couldn't afford it any other way. And then when I went to cardiac rehab, in order to graduate, I had to fill some forms out. And I had to tell Mia, one of the gals at cardiac rehab, I can't do it. And this is where people that care about you when you think there's no options, people that care about you create options. And Gwyneth, one of my biggest supporters, she's 83 years young. She was in earshot of hearing what was going on, and they basically read the questions so that I could answer in a yes or no instead of like a multiple choice. How often have you had meat this week, or how often do you eat chicken with the skin on, and crap like that. But with letting people know how important they are to me has shown that they feel the same way towards me. If they can help me, they do. Because every one of them, including you guys out there all over the country, know that I would do it in a heartbeat for you. If there was something I could do, say, I would do it. If it would help you out. And that's a great attitude to have when you're around others. Money, assets, all that stuff can go away and have nothing. But you always have something if you have your friends and family. I can't emphasize that enough. If you've had issues in the past with certain people that you're not in speaking terms with, I'm not saying go make up and this and that. But it wouldn't hurt to say a prayer to see if it's something worth doing. I've seen people hold grudges for years over stupid crap. And then every year it compounds it because when not speaking, they make up more stuff to add to it. When it was over a girl, or this, or that. It's stupid crap that doesn't matter. If anything, get off your high horse, get down with the rest of us, and enjoy life. On that note, you guys have a great Sunday. Put in the comments, what your take is on family. Do you spend enough time with them? Do you work too hard? Or are they just, far away? But this day and age, it's not an excuse. We have Skype, we have phone, internet where you can video call. Facebook has a chat feature where you can see each other. There's so many different things, so many different mediums to stay connected on a daily, weekly basis, to update each other on how we're doing. So on that note, I hope everybody out there is doing good. I hope your wife is doing well, Jason. Amos, I hope you're feeling better. You need to take better care of yourself. I know you're still rolling that cigarette. I don't blame you. On that note, you guys have a great Sunday.